collaboration opportunities in food technology. Can I request all the speakers to be on the dais, please? Shri B.H. Ban, M.H. Bhattanal, Managing Director, CAPEC Limited. Shri Varadarajan Krishnan, CEO and co-founder, the GAIN Sustainability Accelerator. Dr. Gopal Nayak, Professor IIMB, and Mr. at the Institute of Inspiring Innovation. I also request Mr. Sujit Ukkerikar, Director, Addis Technologies Private Limited, to also be on this dais, please.
So it's my privilege. I've been given the task to coordinate this particular talk. I feel it's one of the very important one, which is the need of the hour. So without taking any much time, I would request Mr. M.H. Bhatnal, Managing Director, CAPEC, to just briefly introduce himself.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Myself, Mohammad Parvez H. Banthanal. I am Managing Director, CAPEC. Originally, I am from Department of Agriculture. I am Additional Director. I am holding charge of Managing Director, CAPEC.
I am Gopal Nayak. I am a professor at Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore.
I am Varadarajan Krishna. I am the co-founder and CEO of the Sustainability Accelerator, the GAIN. That's about 4 years old, based in Bangalore.
Hello, my name is Naveen Lakkur. I'm an innovation coach, a serial entrepreneur turned innovation coach. I have a special interest in life sciences, healthcare, and agri-tech, and these emerging, very ancient field, but modern technology meeting together.
The General Manager for CAPEC, Ms. Ambika here. Just.
Good afternoon to you all. Okay, I'm Ambika, working as General Manager CAPEC. I'm also from the Department of Agriculture. I'm a Joint Director at CAPEC.
So, just to start this discussion, I request Mr. M.H. Bhatnal to just go ahead with the small introduction about themselves and their activities.
Good afternoon, everybody. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಈಗ ವೆರಿ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟ್ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಂಗೆ ಕಾಣಿಸುತ್ತೆ ನಾನು, ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಊಟ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಮಸ್ತ್ AC ಇದೆ, ಎವ್ರಿಬಡಿ ಹೇಗೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಟೇಕ್ ಯು ಅಲಾಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ಮೀ, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಬಿಗ್ ಚಾಲೆಂಜ್ ಎನಿವೇ. ಈಗ ಯು ಆಲ್ ನೋ ಟು ಟೆಲ್ ಯು about this collaboration with various food technology, with various departments, various schemes of the government. We'll be knowing certain central schemes wherein government has come up with one of the most beautiful scheme, that is Prime Minister Formalization of Micro Food Processing Enterprise. This scheme is very nicely designed scheme. ಇದೊಂದು ಬಹಳ ಮಹತ್ತರವಾದಂಥ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಇದೆ. ಇಷ್ಟು ಬ್ಯೂಟಿಫುಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಡಿಸೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬೇರೆ ಅರ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಏನಾಗ್ತಿತ್ತು, ವಾಟ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಡೂ, ಈಗ ಯಾರಿಗಾರ ಬೆನಿಫಿಷಿಯರಿಗೆ ಅಥವಾ ಇಫ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಪುಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ಸಮ್ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ಸ್, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವೇರ್ ವಿ ನೀಡ್ ಟು ರನ್ ದಟ್ ಬೆನಿಫಿಷಿಯರಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ರನ್ ಅರೌಂಡ್ ಟು ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್, ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ to get to avail loan and also to get various certificates. But here you need not, that beneficiary need not have to do anything. So will here one each in every district there will be one district resource person will be appointed by us only. That is in the sense outsourced persons, where they will be doing all kinds of activities. You just contact him, tell him that I want to go for establishment of this micro food processing industry. So he will take care of all those things, right from collection of your this one application, then uploading in the website, then sanctioning of loan, then getting FSSI certificates and all those. So this is beautifully designed. You will just I will just go. I will tell you. We'll move forwarding. So this my micro food enterprises. You all know what is micro food enterprises. You will all be knowing. As per definition, wherein investment will not be more than 1 crore and the turnover will not be more than 5 crore. Such of the business industries or business whoever wants to establish a new business, they will come under this one. So why this scheme? Formalization, ಔಪಚಾರೀಕರಣ ಅಥವಾ ನಿಯಮಬದ್ಧಗೊಳಿಸುವಿಕೆ. ಈ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಬರೋಕ್ಕೆ ಏನು ಉದ್ದೇಶ? ಸೊ ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ. ಸೊ you will all be knowing ಈಗ there are many of the micro food processing they are still existing in rural areas. ಈಗ ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ನೀವು ಹಳ್ಳಿಯಿಂದ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ಪಟ್ಟಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀರಿ, ದಿನ ಹೋಗ್ತೀರಾ, ಅವರು ವಡಾಪಾವ್ ತಿಂತೀರಾ ಅಥವಾ ಬಜಿ ತಿಂತೀರಾ, ಇವ್ರ ಕೈಲೇ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು ಬಜಿ ಬಹಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ, ಕರದಂಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ, ಶೇಂಗಾದ ಹಿಂಡಿ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ, ಹಪ್ಪಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಡೈಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ತೀರಾ, ಡೈಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾಳೆ ಪಾಪ. ಅವಳಿಗೆ ಅನ್ಪಡಿದ್ದಿರ್ತಾಳೆ, ಬಟ್ ಅವಳು ಮುಂದೆ ಬರಾಕೆ ಆಕಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಇದು ಆದಿ ಇರಲ್ಲ. ಅವಳು ಮನಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಿರ್ತಿದೆ ನಾನು ಮುಂದೆ ಬಂದು, ಈಗ ಲಿಜತ್ ಪಾಪಡ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೇಗೆ ಗ್ರೋ ಅದು ಅಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಟೈಪ್ ಇವಳು ಮುಂದೆ ಬರಬೇಕು, ನಾನು ನಂದೊಂದು ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಇರಬೇಕು, ನಾನು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಸ್ಕೇಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂತಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಬಟ್ ಅವಳಿಗೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯಿಂದ ಏನು ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಇರಲ್ಲ. ಈಗ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಅಡ್ಡಾಡ್ಬೇಕಪ್ಪ, ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯಾರು ಅಡ್ಡಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ನನ್ನ ಚಪ್ಪಲಿನ ಅರ್ಧ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅವ್ರು ಲೋನ್ ಕೊಡೋಷ್ಟಲೇ ನನ್ನ ಲೋನ್ ಕೈ ಬಂದು ಎಷ್ಟು ಬರುತ್ತೋ ಅಷ್ಟು ಅರ್ಧ ಎಲ್ಲೇ ಹೋಗಿರ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಇಂಥವೆಲ್ಲ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಈ ಸ್ಕೀಮನ್ನು ಡಿಸೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು ಅದೇ ಉದ್ದೇಶದಿಂದ. ಸೊ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಮೇನ್ ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಯಾವುದು ಇದು ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಟು ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ಮೈಕ್ರೋ ಎಂಟರ್ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ಯೂಟಿಫುಲ್ ಏನಂದರೆ ದಟ್ ಗ್ರ್ಯಾಂಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ನಾಟ್ ಬಿ ಗಿವನ್ ಟು ಯು ಎಟ್ ಆಲ್. ಮೊದಲು ಏನಾಗ್ತಿತ್ತು, ದುಡ್ಡೆಲ್ಲ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ನಿಮ್ಗೇನು ಲೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅಕೌಂಟಿಗೆ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ದವ್ರು ಲೋನ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ಅಥವಾ ಸಬ್ಸಿಡಿ ಬಂದು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕೈಗೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡ್ತಿತ್ತು. ನೀವೇನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರಿ, ನಾಟ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಸೆನ್ಸ್, ನೀವು ಇನ್ ದ ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಯಾರು ಲೋನ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋರು ಅರ್ಧ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿನವ್ರುಗಳು ಹೊಂದಾಣಿಕೆ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಒಂದು ರೀತಿಯಿಂದ ಅದು ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಮುಚ್ಚಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಿತ್ತು. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಲಿಂದ ತಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿ ಸಾಯಂಕಾಲ ಮನೆ ಹೋಗಟ್ಲೆ ಖಲಾಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಿತ್ತು, ಅದೊಂದು ರೀತಿ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅಟ್ ಎನಿ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕೈಲೇ ದುಡ್ಡು ಬರಲ್ಲ. And whatever subsidy that is released from the central government will be ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಏನು ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ ಲೋನ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್, ಸಪರೇಟ್ ಒಂದು ಮಿರರ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕರ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು 3 ವರ್ಷದವರೆಗೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಸಬ್ಸಿಡಿ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಬಿದ್ದಿರ್ತದೆ. ಸಪೋಸ್ 10 ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ದು ತಾವು ಏನು ಲೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. 10 ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಟೆಲ್ ಯು ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ they will be providing a certain amount. I will be telling you that subsidy percentage. Suppose 10 lakh new ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿಂದ central and state government together they will be giving you 35% of the grant. So 10 lakh ದಲ್ಲಿ 35% ಅಂದ್ರೆ 3.5 ಲಕ್ಷ ರೂಪಾಯಿ. So out of 10 lakh ತಾವು ಲೋನ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ 3.5 lakh central government, state government share will come and fall in your mirror account. So you need to pay only 6.5 lakh ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕಟ್ಟಬೇಕು. ಸೊ one more thing about this is state government has recently announced additional 15% subsidy for this also. So 35% central plus state, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ 60-40 ರೇಷಿಯೋದಲ್ಲಿ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ plus 15%, ಅಂದರೆ ಟೋಟಲ್ you will be getting 50% of the grant in the form of subsidy. So one of the beautiful schemes. So this scheme runs on the concept of ODOP, one district, one project ante. So these are all the products that has been identified in each district. Each district will be having one committee wherein all line departments, all even farmers and even FPOs, and under the chairmanship of Deputy Commissioner, they will be having one committee wherein they rigorously sit together and work out, and finally they develop one ನಮ್ಮ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಗೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ವಿಲ್ ಕಾನ್ಸಂಟ್ರೇಟ್ ಮೋರ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಸೊ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ selected. For example, Chikballapur tomato, Bijapur is lime, so Ballari is fig, Belgaum, Bagalkote, Mandya, these are all jaggery products. So if you look into this institutional architecture of this scheme, so how it is beautifully designed, interministerial committee irutte, wherein from there idan kata putakke aa type scheme alla. So interministerial committee linda I make antele, then from the state level we will be having one state level approval committee headed by additional chief secretary, and the department of agriculture is the nodal department for this, and additional and the principal secretary of agriculture is the nodal officer for this. CAPEC covers is a nodal agency for implementing, and similarly one more important thing is the state technical institution is for us CFTR. They will be imparting technical knowledge to the budding entrepreneurs or also existing entrepreneurs who wants to further expand their business. So these are all the various schemes components I was telling you. Individual group we have, and SH self-help groups, for them also we have. Branding and marketing we have. Then for this common infrastructure, common incubation centers also we have grant subsidy in this scheme. So individual, ಈಗ ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕವಾದಂಥ individual, anybody who wants to come up with new ಹೊಸದಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. Suppose ಈಗ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾಗಲಕೋಟೆಯಲ್ಲಿ if you want to do new enterprise, if it is micro food enterprise, I want to go for developing one small scale industry ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವುದಾರೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂತಂದ್ರೆ, if it is new, invariably he has to go for ODOP related product ಮೇಲೆ, jaggery ಮೇಲೆ he has to do. Suppose ಈಗ already I am having on some existing industry ಇದೆ, ಪಾಪಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಪಿಕ್ಕಲಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಶೇಂಗಾ ಚಟ್ನಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಚಿಕ್ಕಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ಬೋದು. Already I am doing other than ODOP, one district, one product. So those people also they are eligible to get this for their expansion. So ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ credit linked 35% is stay central plus state government plus 15%. So totally 50%. Here ಈಗ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ಗೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ ಲಿಮಿಟ್ ಇಸ್ 10 lakh rupees, ವೇರ್ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಗೆಟಿಂಗ್ 10 lakh ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ ಲಿಮಿಟ್ ಇಸ್. ಬಟ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಪ್ರಪೋಸ್ಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅಡಿಷನಲ್ 5 lakh rupees, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ 15% ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಸೆಂಟ್ ಎ ಪ್ರಪೋಸಲ್ ಫಾರ್ 10 plus 5, 15 lakhs. ಸೊ ಸಪೋಸ್ ಈಗ 30 ಲಕ್ಷ ಯಾರು ಲೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ, ಸೊ 35% ಆಫ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ 10 lakh ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಗೆಟಿಂಗ್ central plus state government plus additional 5 lakh. So 50 lakh will be getting. Suppose 60 lakh if someone has done the project, so there also will be getting yes to 10 lakh plus 5 lakh, only 50 lakh, not that 50% of the 60 lakh. So here cap is 10 plus 5. So it is one of the important thing. Who are all the eligible individuals? So as I told you, anybody who is ಈಗ 8th ಪಾಸ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ they have told 8th ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಪಾಸ್ ಆಗಿರಬೇಕು, ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ 18 years ಏಜ್ ಅಂತೂ ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು. ಸೊ 8th ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಪಾಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಇದೆ. ಬಟ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಸಾಟ್ ಅ ಕ್ಲಾರಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಜನ ದಿಸ್ ಈಗ ಇದ್ದವ್ರಿಗೆ ಮಾಡೋದಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ಹೊಸದಾಗಿ ಅನ್ಆರ್ಗನೈಸ್ ಏನೂ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ ಅಂಥವ್ರಿಗೆ ತರೋದು ನಮ್ದು ಕರ್ತವ್ಯ ಇದೆ. ಪಾಪ ಯಾರೋ ಕಲ್ಲಮ್ಮ ಮಲ್ಲಮ್ಮನವರು ಅನ್ಎಜುಕೇಟೆಡ್ ಇದ್ದಿರ್ತಾಳೆ, ಬಟ್ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಕೈ ಗುಣ ಏನಿದ್ದಿರ್ತಿದ್ರು ಭಾರಿ ಟೇಸ್ಟಿ ಇದ್ದಿರ್ತಿದ್ರು, ಓಡಿ ಹೋಗಿ ತಿಂತಿರ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು. ಸೊ ಅಂಥವ್ರು ಅನ್ಎಜುಕೇಟೆಡ್ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಸಹಿತ ಯು ಗಿವ್ ಪ್ರಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ವಿ. ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಬಿ ಪ್ರೊವೈಡಿಂಗ್. ಸೊ ಹಿಯರ್ ಹೂಎವರ್ ವಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಟು ಡೂ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್, ಈಗ ಸ್ವಂತ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಇಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ, ಐ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಮೈ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಬಾಡಿಗೆ ಆಧಾರವಾಗಿ ನೀವು ಬಾಡಿಗೆ ಆಧಾರ ಮೇಲೆ ಶೆಡ್ ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವುದನ್ನು ತಗೊಂಡು 3 years ಬಾಡಿಗೆಯನ್ನು ಸಹಿತ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಆ್ಯಡ್ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ DPR ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ, ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಆ್ಯಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಬ್ಮಿಟ್ ದ ದಿಸ್ ಪ್ರಪೋಸಲ್ಸ್.
Sir, just a minute to interrupt you. Now, when you're talking about these schemes, I'm just trying to moderate the things here for the better understanding here. You are saying that this is for a very small business person who is traditionally into business and other stuff. Can you help put us light? How are you figuring them out? Or have they to come to you? You said that in the initial talks that they need not come
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
and
I-
how
I'll
are
be
you
telling
figuring
you.
it out?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, since there is a district level committee is there, in this, I told you, there are district resource persons we have appointed. Jilla Sampanula Vyaktigal until we have identified. They are outsourced persons. Anybody who is having a degree with banking experience or computer knowledge, they can come forward, and for every successful grant, loan sanction, will be providing them 20,000 rupees. It is there, and we have created awareness among all. ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ ಈಗ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅವೇರ್ನೆಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ವಿತ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ವೆಲ್ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್ and also with university help, we are doing all those things. So ಈಗೆಲ್ಲ and even FPOs and those people also, we have sent all the contact numbers of our DRPs. Those people, they just have to call them and tell them that ನಾನು ಹಿಂಗೆ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂತೇಳಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಲೋನ್, ಐ ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಫಾರ್ ದಿಸ್ ಎಸ್ಟಾಬ್ಲಿಷ್ ದಿಸ್ ಎಂಟರ್ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಅಂತ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ದೇ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಡು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇವನ್ ರಿಟೈರ್ಡ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕರ್ಸ್, ರಿಟೈರ್ಡ್ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಪೀಪಲ್, ರಿಟೈರ್ಡ್ our agriculture department, all those people can also work as a DRPs, district resource persons. Because if you
Freelancing, wherein
so we'll be giving
students from university, can they take it up as a freelance activity for?
ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲ ಹೂ ಆರ್ ಈಗ ಡಿಗ್ರಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬಂದಿರ್ತೀರಾ, ಈಗ ಫ್ರೀ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಎನ್ರೋಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಎಸ್ ಎ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್ ರಿಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್. CFTRL and they will be giving you the 3 days training in the sense ಅದೇನು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಇದು ಇಶ್ಯೂ ಅಲ್ಲ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ದಲ್ಲಿ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಯು ನೀಡ್ ಟು fill it in online only, everything is online only. How to apply online ದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಇದರ ಈ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ they will be giving you ನಿಮಗೆ ಐಡಿಯಾ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಲೇಟರ್ ಆನ್ they will be having one ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಇದ್ದಿರುತ್ತೆ, they just oral and written ಇದ್ದಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಬಟ್ it will be easy for you, it's not a so students can learn while learning ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ನೋಡಿ. You can also take up the things. ಒಂದು 10 ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ 2 lakh rupees you will be getting.
Parallelly, there are students who are now attending it after lunch.
Yeah, maximum they are students
they
only.
have an option to earn here.
ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸಿ ಯು ಆರ್ ಆಲ್, ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಹುಡುಗರು ಬಂದಿರ್ತೀರಾ, ಹಳ್ಳಿ ಊರದವರೇ ಬಂದಿರ್ತೀರಿ, ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತು. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಎ ರೂರಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್, ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ. ಈಗ ನಿಮಗೆ ಫ್ಲ್ಯಾಶ್ ಆಯ್ತು, ಈಗ ನಮ್ಮ ಊರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರೋ ಒಬ್ರು ಚಕ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾಳೆ, ಉಂಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾಳೆ, ಅದೇ ಒಂದು ಹಳಿ ಒಂದು ಪಾತ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅದೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾಳೆ. ಸೊ ಅದ್ರ ಬದಲಿ ಒಂದು ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನಿಕ್ ಇದು ಹೀಟರ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಡ್ರೈಯರ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಸ್ಲೈಸರ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅಂಥದ್ದೊಂದು ಕೊಟ್ಟು 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh rupees ಲೋನ್ ದೇ ವಾಂಟ್, ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋದು ಅವರಿಗೆ. ಅಂಥದ್ದು ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಮುಂದೆ ತರ್ಬೋದು.
So I request the students, whoever are there here, and also to call in their friends. There's an opportunity for you guys to learn and as well as earn here. So sir is giving to Quebec a very important announcement here for you guys to start earning at a very early stage. And sir, we would like you also to focus on how this could be maybe on a digital platform, because nowadays students,
I will be coming on that only.
a bit faster.
Regarding this group category, ಈಗ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ಐ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್, ಈ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಸೇಮ್, ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ದ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ಸ್ ಐ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್, ಏನು ಹೊಸದಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕನ್ನೋರು ಗ್ರೂಪ್, FPO ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಎನಿ ಲೀಗಲಿ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ಡ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, SHG ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು. So such groups, if you want to develop new enterprise, they invariably has to apply for ODOP. Already ನಂದಿದೆ, but I want to expand ಅಂದ್ರೆ anybody they can come forward irrespective of ODOP. ಇಲ್ಲಿ we don't have cap limit here in this group. 35% plus 50%. For example, if you apply for 1 crore project, so you will be getting what? 50 lakh rupees as a grant. So such is the wonderful opportunity for groups who wants to come forward. So ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ nearly we have at least 3 years experience ಇರಬೇಕು, and minimum that group has to be engaged in food processing ಅಂತೇಳಿ. So that documents, if you don't have any documents regarding existing entrepreneurs, at least ನೀವು ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಮಷಿನ್ ಖರೀದಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಏನೇ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಿಸಿಟಿ ಬಿಲ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಸಚ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಗೋ ಫಾರ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಟು ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ಸ್, ಈಗ ಸ್ವಸಹಾಯ ಸಂಘ ಮಹಿಳೆಯರು ಇದ್ದಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಇದ್ದೀರಮ್ಮ ಇಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಸ್ವಸಹಾಯ ಸಂಘದವರಿಗೆ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಗಿವಿಂಗ್ ಯು ಆಸ್ ಎ ಗ್ರಾಂಟ್ 40,000 ಫಾರ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಮೆಂಬರ್ ಹೂ ಆರ್ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ಫುಡ್ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸಿಂಗ್. 4,000 ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ 4 lakh ಪರ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್. ಸೊ ಹೂ ಆರ್ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಫುಡ್ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸಿಂಗ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಗಿವಿಂಗ್. ಸೊ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಗಿವಿಂಗ್ ಇಟ್ ಟು ಫೆಡರೇಷನ್. ಫೆಡರೇಷನ್ದವ್ರು they will give to members. That is in the form of revolving fund. ನಾವು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು ವಿ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಆಸ್ಕ್ ಯು ಬ್ಯಾಕ್. ಸೊ ಫೆಡರೇಷನ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲೇ ಅದು ದುಡ್ಡು ಉಳಿದು ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಎ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿವಾಲ್ವಿಂಗ್ ಫಂಡ್. ಸೊ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಮಹಿಳೆಯರು ಇಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ತಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ದಯಮಾಡಿ ತಮಗೆ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೂ ತಮ್ಮ ನಜರ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರು ಇದ್ರು ಸಹಿತ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಟೆಲ್ ದೆಮ್. ಯಾಕೋ ಭಾಳಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಬಡವರು ಇದ್ದಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಪಾಪ ರೈತ ಮಹಿಳೆಯರು ಹಳ್ಳಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಗೊತ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ. ಸೊ ಅವರಿಗೊಂದು ಅಪಾರ್ಚುನಿಟಿ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದೀಸ್, ಸಪೋಸ್ ಯಾವುದೋ ರೈತ ಮಹಿಳೆ ಅಥವಾ ಆ ಗುಂಪು ಸರ್ ನಾವು ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ದಟ್ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ಏನು ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಇಟ್ ಅಪ್ಲೈಸ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ. ದೇ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಇನ್ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ, ದೇ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಇನ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ. ಸೊ ಸಚ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಇದು. Then support for common infrastructure. See, common infrastructure that you can any FPOs, SHGs, government agencies or private enterprises, they can come forward. Common ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಮನ್ ಇನ್ಫ್ರಾಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟಿ ಇನ್ ದ ಸೆನ್ಸ್, ಈಗ ಸಪೋಸ್ ಈಗ ಐ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ಈಗ ಕೋಲಾರ್ಗೆಲ್ಲ ಟೊಮೆಟೊ ಇದೆ. ಈಗ ಭಾಳಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಟೊಮೆಟೊ ಬೆಳೀತಾರೆ, ಬಟ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸಿಂಗ್ ಲೈನ್ಸ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಅವರಿಗೆ ದುಡ್ಡು ಇರಲ್ಲ ಅಷ್ಟು, ಅಥವಾ ಕೋಲ್ಡ್ ಸ್ಟೋರೇಜಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲಿ, ದೆನ್ ಅದು ಪ್ಯಾಕ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲಿ, ಲಾರ್ಜ್ ಸ್ಕೇಲ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲಿ ಇರೋಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಎನಿ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಕಂಪ್ನಿ, ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಕಂಪ್ನಿ ಮುಂದೆ ಬಂದರೆ ದೇ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಎಸ್ಟಾಬ್ಲಿಷ್ ಒನ್ ಕಾಮನ್ ಇನ್ಫ್ರಾಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಕನ್ಸಿಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ 2 to 3 ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸಿಂಗ್ ಲೈನ್ಸ್, ದೆನ್ ಕೋಲ್ಡ್ ಸ್ಟೋರೇಜ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ದೆನ್ ಗೋಡೌನ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಟುಗೆದರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ದೇ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ರೆಂಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಟು ದೆಮ್ ಆನ್ ಹೈಯರ್ ಬೇಸಿಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಕೊಡ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಹಿಯರ್ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಗೆಟಿಂಗ್ 35% ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್, ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ದ ಸಬ್ಸಿಡಿ ಗ್ರಾಂಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಗಿವನ್ ಟು ಯು. So apart from that common infrastructure, there is one common incubation centers also, wherein we have already provided around 12 common incubation centers to universities. So ours is the first state wherein ಎಲ್ಲ ಬೇರೆ ರಾಜ್ಯಗಳು 1 ಅಥವಾ 2 ಕಾಮನ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ಯುಬೇಷನ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ಸ್ ಇದಾವೆ. ours is the only state we have fought with the central ministry, MOFP, and we have grabbed 12 common incubation centers for our idu. So common incubation centers andre ಏನು? Common incubation centers you will be knowing where it will be. For example, ಒಂದು ಹೇಳಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಈಗ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ನೀವು ಗಿರಣಿಗೆ ಜೋಳ ಅಥವಾ ಏನಾದ್ರು ತೊಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತೀರಾ, ನಿಮಗೆ ಏನು ಬೇಕು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ರವಾ ಬೇಕು ಅಥವಾ ಹಿಟ್ಟು ಬೇಕು, ಏನೇನು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಕಮಿಂಗ್ ಪೇಯಿಂಗ್. ಅದೇ ಟೈಪ್ ಕಾಮನ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ಯುಬೇಷನ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ಸ್ ವೆಲ್ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ 2 to 3 ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸಿಂಗ್ ಲೈನ್ಸ್, ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ 3 to 5 ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸಿಂಗ್ ಲೈನ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದಿರ್ತದೆ. ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ಒನ್ ಲ್ಯಾಬೊರೇಟರಿ ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟಿ ಇದ್ದಿರ್ತದೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಲ್ಯಾಬ್ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ. Then you will be having cold storage also, then you will be having godown also. New product ಬೇಕಿದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು, ಅಥವಾ you can process it and take your by product. ಅದು they will be charging you very minimal charge. So 100% ಇದು ನಾವು ಫ್ರೀ ಆಗಿ we have central government subsidy ಇದೆ, we have already provided CIC, and next another for this year also we are going to provide still more common incubation centers. So even private people, they can also come forward for establishing CIC, but they will be having 50% subsidy ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So this is an application flow. ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿದ್ನಲ್ಲ, whoever wants to apply for this, either directly he can go to this website MOFPI, then he has to upload all the documents, then it will go to district resource person, he will verify it, then he will submit to district level committee meeting where attended by DC, then it will be sent to bank. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ while applying loan ತಾವೇನು ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀರಲ್ಲ, automatically you have to suggest 2 bank name in that compulsorily. ಈಗ ನನಗೊಂದು ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕು, another ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್, I will be applying. In case Union Bank, if they reject loan, automatically that application will move forward to the Karnataka bank. ನೀವು ಹೋಗಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ತೊಗೊಂಡು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಡೋದು ಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಆಟೋಮೆಟಿಕಲಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ either they have to approve the loan or reject with giving a suitable reason for that. So
I would like to understand from the public, like sir is explaining these parts. How much of you are really interested in coming up with an earn while you are learning? Because what happens, it's just not a talk show here that we keep on talking and you guys keep hearing up. So are you really interested in hearing it too in deep for further? I expect a yes from here. Yes. So it's a good public down the line, sir, where it's showing its interest. So we would take it ahead in deep eventually, but we have another speakers also.
yeah fast.
Yes.
Yeah, ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ ಹೇಳಿ.
We'll take the question and section now.
Yeah, we'll take question. So for this one, this group application and branding and marketing. Here also one of the most important, branding and marketing. See, many of the people, they will be having their own products. And branding and marketing is usually related to the ODOP of that product. So overall, one district, one product. Overall eligible, ಯಾರ್ಯಾರು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ, FPO, SHGs, cooperatives, and any special purpose vehicle of microfood cooperatives, ಅವರು ಕೊಲಾಬ್ರೇಷನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಪರ್ಪಸ್ ವೆಹಿಕಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿ ದೇ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಕಮ್ ಫಾರ್ವರ್ಡ್. ಇದರ ಹಿಯರ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟಿಂಗ್. ನೀವು ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು, ಸರ್ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಸರ್, ನಮ್ಗೇನು ಗೊತ್ತೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವೇನು ಮಾಡೋದು ಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಇಲ್ಲಿನೂ ಸಹಿತ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಗಿವಿಂಗ್ ಯು. ನೀವೇನು ಕನ್ಸಲ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ತೊಗೊಂಡು ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ, ಅಪ್ ಟು 5 lakh ವರೆಗೆ ಪ್ರೊವಿಷನ್ ಇದೆ. ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟಿಂಗ್ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಡಿಸೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿ DPR ಮಾಡಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಾವು ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಪೇಯಿಂಗ್ ಯು. ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಒಂದು ಪೈಸಾದಷ್ಟು ನಿಮ್ಮದು ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಇನ್ನು ಕೆಲಸ. ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಗಿವ್ ಯುವರ್ ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಏನೇನು ಬೇಕಲ್ಲ, ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಡಿಸೈನಿಂಗ್. ಸೊ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಎಲಿಜಿಬಲ್ ಐಟಮ್ಸ್ ಏನೇನು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪ್ಯಾಕೇಜ್ ಹೇಗಿರಬೇಕು, ಹೆಸರು ಹೇಗಿರಬೇಕು, ಸೈಜ್ ಏನಿರಬೇಕು, 1 kg, 1/2 kg. ಸೊ ಆ ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ ಪ್ಲಾಟ್ಫಾರ್ಮ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವೇರ್ನೆಸ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸಹಿತ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡ್ ಇನ್ DPR. ಸೊ ರೋಡ್ ಶೋಸ್ ನಾವು ಬರೀ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಹೊರ ರಾಜ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಬಿಗ್ ಸ್ಕೇಲ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಬೇಕು, ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅವೇರ್ನೆಸ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಂದ್ರೂ ಸಹಿತ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಎ DPR ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಬ್ಮಿಟ್. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಅದು ಏನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ನಲ್ಲ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡೆಡ್ ಹಿಯರ್. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಸೊ ಇದು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಅಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದಿಸ್ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಇದೆ. ಫಸ್ಟಿಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದೆ CFTRA ನಮ್ಮ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ನರ್ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಸೊ ಸರ್ ಇಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳ್ತೀರ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಹುಡುಗರು ಕೇಳ್ತೀರಿ, ನಮಗೆ ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗ್ ಯಾರು ಕೊಡಬೇಕು, ನಮಗೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂತೇಳಿ. ಅದಕ್ಕೂ ನಿಮ್ಮ ನಡುವೆ ಕೈ ಬಿಡಲ್ಲ, ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗು ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ ಫ್ರೀಯಾಗಿ. 5 days 50 hours ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಗಿವನ್, ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಪ್ಲಸ್ ಥಿಯೋರಿಟಿಕಲ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಎಂಟರ್ಪ್ರಿನ್ಯೂರ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಫುಡ್ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸಿಂಗ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಅವರಿಗೂ ಸಹಿತ 24 hours 3 days 8 hours 3 days ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಗಿವಿಂಗ್ ಫ್ರೀ ಆಫ್ ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಆಲ್. ಸೊ ನಾವು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಆಲ್ ದ A to Z, ರೈಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಹಿಡಿದು ನೀವು ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಹಿಡಿದು ಸರ್ಟಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ಜನರೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡೋದಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗ್ ಕೊಡೋದಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಎಲ್ಲ ಈ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಇದೆ. ನೀವು ಬಟ್ ಮನಸ್ಸು ಮಾಡಿ ಮುಂದೆ ಬರಬೇಕು. ನೀವು ನೀವು ಬಡ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಎಂಟರ್ಪ್ರಿನ್ಯೂರ್ಸ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಟೆಲ್ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ಮೇಟ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸೀನಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅವರಿಗೂ ಸಹಿತ ತಾವು ಮುಂದೆ ಬರೋಕ್ಕೆ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಹೌ ಐ ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಟೆಲ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದಿಸ್ PMFME scheme. So later on you can discuss. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for the valuable information. I hope it was quite informative for all the students here. It brings up an opportunity for most of the students to start earning when they are still in the learning phase. So I move on to the next speaker, Mr. Naik. I would request you to take up the stage. We'll take up the Q&A session after once this is done, so that the flow continues.
Thank you. Good evening to everybody. So what I will do is very briefly talk about what are the potential for technology collaboration in the agriculture and food sector. As you know, agriculture and food sector has a number of key activities that needs to be performed in order to reach to the consumers, right? So it starts from, right from, procurement of inputs and information. Sorry, I think this the problem of being a little short. Podium may be a little higher. Okay, so so you have these different activities, key activities that needs to be performed in order to make sure that the right products actually reach the consumers, right? So all of you, being agriculture graduates would know all these. But if you look at each one of them, there are a number of requirements that goes along with that, right? So if you look at the production side itself, so it starts from let's say what is the likely weather, right? So let's say if the monsoon is going to be late, then you are going to change your varieties, right? So there are these key inputs that are required in order to make decisions with respect to the crop planning itself, and of course, the soil health, how much of nutrient to be put in, of course, what crops to be grown, and of course, all the other agricultural practices, cultural practices, and so on. Then harvesting, the technology in harvesting, right? So there are, especially if you look at horticulture, there are important, key, practices that you need to follow in order to make sure that you reach the quality or you maintain the quality, particularly if you are exporting to other countries. Then, of course, processing. You need to have knowledge about food technology, storage. Of course, we don't discuss very much about the storage technology. In fact, that's where most of our products gets damaged or wasted or lose quality. So that's where we need to look at the storage facilities, the bags for storage. In fact, you must have seen pro-harvest bags outside, right? So over a period of time, different institutions have come up with better technology in storing. It's to make sure that the quality deterioration can be prevented. Transportation is another big thing, like the cold storage, cold chain, reefer containers, which are very prevalent in other countries, but we don't have those, well established in the country. And of course, as the MD of CAPEC was saying, marketing aspect of it, whether it's a branding, marketing, advertising, really making your products known to others. So there are these different kinds of information that needs to be gathered together, and also technology applied at different stages in order to make sure that you can be a successful, producer as well as a successful entrepreneur. So that's where the collaboration, need for collaboration also comes in. So if you look at farmers as such, I think some of the exhibits you see outside, so they are dealing with one or the other of these following. For example, some companies would be giving you the weather forecast, because that itself is a huge subject, right? So forecasting weather is not very easy. Generally, people say that weather forecasts are more like a nowcast. Only today's weather you can sort of get an assessment, but it's very difficult to forecast ahead. But we do have some technology which will sort of approximately can provide some information about what is the likely rainfall this year, or when the monsoon is going to be beginning and so on, right? So therefore you need weather forecast not only at the time of planting but also throughout the crop season that you are aware of it. So that is one of the key technology requirements. Weather forecast, good weather forecast, accurate weather forecast, whether it is 3 days ahead forecast, whether it's a 5 days ahead forecast. So who can give a more accurate weather forecast is a question that you need to deal with. Then you want to assess the quality requirements of the markets, whether you are selling in the domestic market or international market. Important thing to understand is what is the quality requirements, right? So different countries do have different quality specifications, right? So therefore, one needs to understand the market requirements in terms of quality assessment. Then of course you can start with the soil quality itself and the advisory in crop planning, nutrient and crop protection, cultivation practices, crop forecasting. That's how much are you going to get in the next 2 months or so based on the crop growth. There are crop growth models and so on which can help you in assessing the total produce from the field. So harvesting technology, quality assessment is another major issue, because today most of the problems that comes in the marketing, especially in the value chain, is our inability to do quick quality testing. In fact, there are a number of now startups beginning to think about what are best ways to assess quality and how you can do it in a cost-effective way, and also you can do it in a shorter time. In fact, there are cases in futures market, futures trading, where the futures trading had to be stopped because of expensive quality assessment methodology, and also the time taken is very long. Like in case of pepper and cardamom, it's about 15 days or so. That really makes markets working very difficult. So that's where the technology has to come in, newer technology has to come in and actually provide these facilities in terms of how you can quickly assess the qualities and provide that information to the market agents, so that the markets can work better, right? So again, so these pieces of information cannot, as you can see, some are biological information, some are agronomic information, some are weather related, hydrology and so on. So it's very difficult to really get all this information from one company or one institution and so on. So that's where these individual technologies developed in, let's say, weather forecasting to seed variety development, harvesting technology, and so on. These are all from different enterprises, different institutions, and a collaborative working of these institutions can actually streamline the value chain. That's the key thing, right? And there has to be a collaboration between these different technology providers in order to make sure that we have a very efficient value chain in the agriculture sector. So we in fact did some studies. In fact, we were just looking at how providing information can help farmers, and we did a fairly large study in 2 taluks in Karnataka, and we found that one can actually reduce the cost of production substantially, maybe about 20 to 25% cost reduction is possible. It's also possible to increase the productivity. The yield level can go up by anywhere from 30% to 50% in different crops. Of course, depending on the crops, especially we found in cotton crop, it's much higher. The yield improvements are much higher, and also there is also possibility of getting better prices. So with the result that your revenue can increase, the cost will reduce, and therefore the profitability will increase. Apart from that, what we have also seen is that with best practices that the farmers are following, it is actually more sustainable in terms of environment, because You don't dump fertilizers, you are going to apply only required amount of fertilizers. So that's where you are not wasting the inputs, but also making sure that you are applying only that much that is recommended by the let's say universities and so on. So therefore sustainability can be improved both financially as well as environmental sustainability can be improved by really providing good advisory services. And we have seen some of the stalls outside where they have been trying to see how best they can provide advisory services. It's a very good development. I think it's something which is really required. In fact, we ourselves are tying up with the ISRO's National Remote Sensing Center as well as Hitachi Group in order to come up with an application which will help farmers as well as Krishi Vijnana Kendras. So we are in the process of developing it, and so that's where the technology collaboration is very, very essential. So you bring in remote sensing technology so that you can get weather data, weather forecast, and so on. You bring in the IT technology to develop the appropriate applications. You bring in the agronomy, so that you can actually build an appropriate advisory based on the crop conditions and the weather conditions. So these technology collaboration only can strengthen the production activities as well as marketing activities. So that's where I think technology collaboration is very essential in the case of agriculture. The another important aspect of agriculture value chain is the markets. Our markets are not doing very well. You have seen a few months ago the government had enacted certain laws, and then again they repeal of the law and so on. So there is a constant thinking about what to do with respect to improving the agriculture markets. I myself was associated with marketing reforms in Karnataka, which I think has been quite successful. REMS has been one of the outcome of that. So basically, there are a whole lot of things that need to be done in order to streamline agriculture markets. Agriculture markets are very crucial because that is the one which actually gives you the price. The farmer's revenue is basically dependent on what price they get. A 10% increase in the revenue in the price can increase the revenue by net revenue by about 30 to 40%. So that's where it's very important to make the markets work, to make market vibrant. So the question is, how do you make these markets vibrant? One of the things that we have seen is, the information availability to different market agents are not very good. So that's where one need to see how best one can actually provide those information in order to make sure that market agents work efficiently and therefore make markets work properly. So that's a set of. So in order to do that, again, as we have seen in many markets, there are problems of assessing the quality of the produce. So let's say you may have a e-trading platform, but the thing is, unless you have a good, efficient grading system, it's not going to work very well. So we do have, we do say that we have transacted so much of produce and so on. But real benefit from e-trading platform will come in only when you are able to do the grading assessment very quickly. As I told you, it should be a quick grading and reliable grading. Then only you can really harness the benefit of the e-trading platform. So those are the key issues. So if you look at, let's say, in the current market systems, there are APMCs, secondary wholesale market, tertiary markets, retail markets, and so on. And the value chains are very complex. We have a very complex value chain. So many intermediaries. If you look at something like a tur dal, value chain, and there are so many very complex, value chain working, which makes it very difficult for people to make an assessment of the market and also make the market transaction transparent. And there's a whole lot of cost involved. There is a lot of wastage that happens. Every time you open the bags and test the quality and so on, there is a loss to the quality. and time taken to move the produce in the value chain. So it costs a lot. So that has been a bone of contention in case of agriculture markets in India. And we did find that through our studies in potato value chain, what we found is this 80-20 rule holds true. That is, 80% of the cost is actually incurred by the farmers, and they get only 20% of the margin. Whereas, the traders or the intermediaries incur only 20% of the cost and actually get 80% of the, margins. So that's where, right now you can see the farmers' distress and how farmers are agitating and so on. That's precisely because of this. So you need to streamline both the production and marketing system, and that's where in the current system where there are a large number of intermediaries, which increases the cost, long time is involved, inadequate quality storage, inadequate scientific quality assessment, and inadequate, therefore, price information, and poor infrastructure facilities. Whether it is storage, we of course you need to see some of the storages in the country to really see, how the storage is done. It's really in pathetic condition, and that's another opportunity for many of you to look at, the storage infrastructure. Can you integrate storage infrastructure with the quality assessment, with the packing infrastructure, and e-trading platforms? So therefore, you can integrate the whole system. So that's where we need to think about in this collaboration between these different agencies and provide an integrated system so that you can actually shorten the value chain. So the reforms needed, of course, we are talking about RMS, ENAM, other platforms are also, private platforms are also coming in. Now, in terms of quality assessment, there are some certain developments that are taking place. For example, computer visioning, which is able to give you the physical attributes of the grains and so on. Then there are near-infrared technology or the nuclear magnetic resonance technology, so which can actually help in assessing the quality very quickly. And nowadays also there are efforts being made to improve the warehousing in terms of let's say hermetic bags or hermetic cocoons, silo bags and so on. So those are newer technologies that are coming up. Electronic payment system, anyway you are very familiar with. Commodity financing, so ENWR, that is negotiable warehouse receipt system, which can just help if farmers takes the produce to the warehouses and get an ENWR, then he or she can transact it over e-trading platform without really going to the warehouses and so on. So the warehouse actually should be able to guarantee the quality of the produce to the buyer, and therefore you can actually transact it in long distances and so on. So of course that system is yet to develop properly, and that's where all of your roles will be very important in terms of trying to see how best you can strengthen the system so that you can streamline the agriculture marketing system. So going forward, what one would expect is for farmer producer, farmer can deposit in the good warehouses where the quality assessment is done. They get an ENWR, and through ENWR, you put it on the online national exchange so that buying, selling can take place, and it can go to the retailers. Not necessarily all wholesalers can actually be avoided, and retailers can directly buy it from the farmers. So that's where you can actually disintermediate a number of intermediaries in the channel, and therefore increase the efficiency of the marketing system by reducing the cost and improving the quality of the produce, as well as shortening the length of the channel, which would help in taking the produce to the buyer at a shorter period of time. So that's for the storables, and similarly for the non-storables or perishables also you can do the same thing. If there is a packing and quality assessment certification system and cold storage facilities, then the same system can be utilized in order to sell the produce online with the proper negotiable warehouse system that the cold storage can offer. So with that, you can actually streamline the agriculture marketing system and therefore, improve the quality, reduce the cost, and, make the
Excuse me, sir.
system very efficient.
Sorry, we just fallen short of time. Can you just take it up a bit?
Yeah, I'm finished. Yeah, that was my last slide. Okay, so that's what the conclusion is, in the sense that there are several technologies that has to be that are involved in agriculture value chain, and by coming together you can reduce the cost, you can improve the quality, you can improve the realization for farmers, and therefore also make the agriculture more sustainable. So thank you. So if there are any questions, I will take it up later on.
Thank you very much, sir. That was a good session. We got a macro view of what all the things are happening, and also get an idea on a perspective of all the aspects of business and agriculture and technology in a one screenshot. So, but eventually, I would like to also ask you, sir, to share your live experiences about the two talukas which you just mentioned. You had a very good results in terms of these kind of activities happening. So if you could elaborate a bit about that, that would be much of a learning experience for the new people here who would also understand what things are going up in this practical world.
Sure. I think if you look at farmers' practices, they are quite different from what you have learned in your classroom. I was also part of the university here. I studied agriculture marketing here. Right. So when you go to farmers' fields, farmers are not very good in terms of scientific agriculture, right? So therefore, they need information right from soil test itself, soil quality. So what crops can be grown, what markets they can actually reach. So therefore, what are the prices that they can get, and therefore, how can they do crop planning? What is the nutrient application? What should be the combination of fertilizer that they need to apply? Or how do they protect their crop, crop protection like pest and insects, and of course harvesting practices and so on, as I have described. So in all these, they need proper information, not only just the package of practices, but it has to be very specific to their own plot. Their own land, and it should be in such a way that they understand it. It's not easy to, let's say, read a book and understand and practice agriculture for them. Many of them are maybe 5th standard, 6th standard, 7th standard, right? So therefore they need to be made aware of through proper technology, like your extension service. You use various methods by which you can communicate messages to the farmers, right? So similarly, most of the things that works very well is demonstration or contact, individual contact, right? So of course you can develop an app, but along with the app you may also need a certain amount of personal contact. That's very important, right? So we used to have farmer meetings very frequently in order to make sure they understand how to do seed treatment, okay? How do they prepare solutions, let's say for pest control, and how do they come up with appropriate nutrient application. So all these are highly technologically they are quite advanced for farmers, and therefore they need to be provided with proper information and in a way that they can understand. So that's where our role was. We had field people, graduates like you, working in the on the farm, working with farmers, let's say individuals working with some 50, 60 farmers and so on, contacting very periodically and assessing what they are doing and also advising what they should be doing. And by doing so, we have been able to make them apply right amount of fertilizers. Otherwise, as you can see, there will be a lot of urea applied, but not the phosphatic or potassium fertilizer. Micronutrient application will not be there, and so on. So micronutrient application itself, in some cases, can increase the yield by about 30%. These are all shown. So these are very important information for farmers. You can increase the yield of farmers if they are able to choose right varieties, right input application, right pest control, right? So those are important things, and therefore, there's a whole lot of opportunity there, in terms of really providing that pieces of information to the farmers, so that our agriculture becomes more profitable. Of course, you can also get a job, by doing so.
True, sir. True, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So, shall we have a round of applause? I guess let's break it up. The next speaker, Mr. Varadarajan. We have an audience here, sir, which is interested to understand basically the accelerator programs, how they do work in a brief, crisp way. It's a digital world right now. We have a very young crowd here who is interested in things which are digital, activated, and in more of a youth spirit.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me here, and good evening. I think it's been a long day for all of you, so I don't want to bore you with so many theories. I'll just share with you some of the experiences. So your question was about the accelerator itself. So what we do is, see the theme, if you see the theme is about collaboration. So as I say, right, it requires an entire village to raise a child. So similarly, to raise an entrepreneur, we need the whole ecosystem. So whether it is incubator, whether it is accelerator, whether it is investors, corporate, that is industry, everybody has to play a role, including the government. Let me tell you the great news for you, all of you, from the time I was starting to build a startup, and now, some 20 years ago, I've been through these journeys. There's so many interventions. You just go stand out and say, I want grant, it is raining grant. It has never been so, I can say that there is...
Change is happening eventually.
Exactly. So there has never been a better time than now. Okay, and it's going to get better and better. So this is my experience. And talking about the accelerator, what we do is, see, there is a stage, right? Collaboration is about the ecosystem, as I mentioned. So let's say that you are all students here, right? You come up with some ideas, and then the idea, you need to check whether it is something which will work or not. So you go and talk to different people. And say maybe you're an academic, a professor, whatever, you talk to people and they're going to say it's going to work or not. And then you take that to the next level. If it works, you talk to some experts. So you bring it to a level where it can be incubated. So the incubator sees if they can add value to you, and you also have to decide whether that incubator is the one which is the right one for you. So once that is done, it's a collaboration, right? So then what happens is you build it, you get interventions, there are government grants like Nidhi grant to build prototypes. So you get, without any questions asked, grants, and you can build the product, demonstrate it, and after you brought it to a certain level, you can go and show it in the field that it is working. Okay, and if it's not working, you have to make changes, and so on. So everywhere there is an intervention available, that's the incubation stage. So you get to a minimum viable product that works, prototyping is done, demonstrated, and then it needs to be shown to a customer. So I'd say from that concept level, you moved on to demonstrate it works for a client, could be a farmer, or could be any other organization that is in the network. And once you've done it, you got the first customer. And then you go on to do the second customer, third customer, and so on. That is the time you ask the customer to pay for you, right? So the accelerator comes at a stage where you have 3 paying customers, minimum. That means you have repeated your success, and there is somebody willing to pay for your service or a product or a solution. Then it's a question of scaling up. So then you need interventions through mentors, you need other interventions through, like say, VC funding, the later stage funding, and so on, which are far more professional compared to the earlier stage funding. And so they are like, let me say, they become more and more professional, and they expect you to be more professional and structured in your approach. So that's what the accelerator does. So that's the question you had. And so,
But along with this accelerator program, we do need some action. And in that front, I asked Mr. Lokur, like, how do you take it ahead for this ecosystem to give up or take up some action so that things materialize?
Um, yeah, I think it's important that one is the idea, and the other is the execution, right? So this is where they come as inseparable twins. It's title of one of the books that I've authored. There are these two characters, Appy and Proppy, in this book. Okay, so Appy is this male elephant, big elephant, right? So he loves food, so very appropriate to the topic and the theme that we are talking. And the other is the Proppy, who's the twin, and she is synonym to prosperity, right? And here happiness, the other is prosperity. So the idea is that happiness, the josh, the kick that you get in generating ideas, it's the execution which matters. If you don't take that action, then it's all gone, right? Somebody asked me, which is the most precious or costliest place on earth. We thought, it could be Tokyo or New York and so on. But then a philosopher said, it's the graveyard, right? The reason is, the best of the ideas are all buried there. So it's just because they didn't take any action, it's all got buried there. Can we take that action? And entrepreneurs are the youth who can also come with great ideas and have the zeal to wanting to implement that, to bring that change. And that is where the idea and the execution come as they are whole and complete by themselves. But when they come together, they unleash new power, right? It's like the tech and the Bharat. Right? They are whole and complete by themselves. But when they come together, they rock. Right? The same way, idea and execution, when they come together, they rock. And in entrepreneurial thing, as much as people say that the entrepreneur might think idea is 80% value, and investors think 80% is about execution. So how do you bring that balance? That's where the incubators and where action has to happen, and minimum viable thing, and show that it is required in the market, it can sustain and all that. And then the acceleration comes into play. So now that it is proven, how do we? But all of it, both the idea and that action as the execution need to come together. And when they do, they rock. Bring both happiness and prosperity.
So I really feel lucky to be on this dais to moderating this, because if you see the whole gamut of people who are there on this, we have got all the components which Mr. Lokur just now mentioned. We have got a mentor here who will give you the macro view of what all things are there, what is practicality, and how things are there. We have an execution wing here in form of CAPEC who will help us execute things. We have got an incubator in between that, from an idea stage coming into an implementation stage, and an action coach, Mr. Vinayak Lokur. So, all in all, it's a... I'll just take...
Yeah, sorry.
All in all, it seems to be a nice dais to discuss a lot of things. So eventually, I put the next question to Mr. Nayak. We have seen quite a number of great minds and new technologies coming into picture. But how do you see it is the future part of it? The technology intervention happening today, is it gaining traction or it is just getting a bit slowed down because of this pandemic and maybe even the policy making on the other activities?
Thank you. Yeah, I think for any technology to be adopted, it has to go through several stages. It also has to be tried and seen whether there are issues and so on sorted out, and then it's more like you release a variety and whether it is adopted or not. So you will see there is a lag between releasing a variety and actually being adopted in the field. So it goes through various stages. So therefore, of course, some technology may be very ready-made. So therefore, one can go ahead and adopt it. Some technologies need ecosystem to be developed. Otherwise, you will not get the benefit properly. For example, if you have a good, grading or assessing technology, but you don't have other things, let's say if you don't have a good marketing system and so on, again, you will not be able to gain from that technology. So one thing is it's important to see how this technology fits into the value chain and whether there are other constraints in actually making, in actually benefiting from this technology. So a lot of times, if one attempts at sort of integrating the different technologies in the value chain, it works very well, so that everybody gets benefited, and therefore the technology adoption becomes faster. Otherwise, it becomes just technology at one stage not being addressed in other stages. Then again, there is problems with really getting the benefit.
So, moving this question further to Mr. Varadarajan, how are you seeing this issues being sorted out with the help of an accelerator, or your intervention under the GAIN sustainable acceleration?
Yeah, so we provide both in terms of go-to-market. Like I said, once you have 3 customers, we bring on the 4th, 5th, 6th customer and so on, and try to make it something that you can easily repeat. Build something called a sales and marketing organization that will help you to build the company from wherever you are to the next level and beyond, and then at the same time get you, let's say, in front of investors who are looking at putting in more money and then helping you to scale further. So like this, like both India as well as outside India, we help in both ways.
Eventually, we need some motivation or some action support, and I guess Mr. Lokur would put a brief note on it further.
Yeah, my name is Naveen Lakur. I'm an innovation coach, right? And as a part of Institute of Inspiring Innovation, so we bring out some inspiring stories to motivate and to get that idea to become reality and solve some problem and ultimately bring some benefit, right, and happiness. So one story from recently, I was narrating a story on a little extra, where one of the quote in that book of mine is by name, acquiring knowledge is ordinary. Applying knowledge multiple times in multiple ways is extraordinary, right? In application of knowledge is where you get the benefits and the results, right? So one good friend, and he studied. His name is Mohammad Farooq. He studied his engineering in Bangalore Institute of Technology, and his family business was into bananas, growing bananas. So he was like wondering, I'm studying engineering, I want to go do something in electronics and communication, hard subject, and I'm doing well, but family pressure that he had to get into the farm. Okay, then he started wondering, okay, now I'm getting in, and my brothers have already grown the business to that great extent. What am I supposed to do? I don't even know what to do here. Then he said he wanted to study. So he learned and understood what the new opportunities were. And that was the time he saw this new supermarket culture was coming in. And these bananas which were coming in didn't have that shelf life. They could not hold on. So what would you do? Then he started exploring, and what is the Western culture already well established in the supermarket one. Supermarket bananas, we were ancient, we know how to grow. But how to sell it in supermarket and that ripening and that process, the logistics, these were all the challenges that he understood. Now he wanted to apply his knowledge that he acquired in engineering. So he wanted to figure out and bring one of the company which was making this kind of a machine in, I think, Dutch country. So he found it exorbitant, so exorbitant that in India doesn't sell or doesn't work economically. He said, why not? He caught hold of a cold storage guy and said, and he studied the technology behind and kind of reverse engineered, or he got in his own Indian touch to it and created one machine. And that whole process of ripening they did it so cost effectively and so powerfully that now they could establish these ripening centers in many places, right? So this was one example that he completely.
It's in a nutshell, like the business is the same, but how you do is
Absolutely.
what's the action matters.
The kind of problem that he attended and solved, it created a new opportunity, right? And then he started looking at it, another opportunity to apply knowledge. So the amount of wastage which was happening in logistics, most of the 30% to 40% of it was getting damaged while transit. So then he realized, can we do something, solve this problem? So he's now put up a plant. He created the crates. First time, crates started being used for transporting bananas. Earlier, the distance was from Kolar to Bangalore to around nearby regions. Now it could reach Kashmir to Kanyakumari and even crossing the borders.
So that's the action which mattered here.
Absolutely. And innovation there, including the social impact. So cost-wise, can farmers afford that? These were the challenge. But when farmers used it, they found that return on investment on using this crate was just in one transportation. So they were smart. Farmers are very, very street smart and they're field smart, not just street smart, right? They started using it again. Say they got multiple rounds of return on investment. So he said, I want to be socially relevant and create an impact. So he put up a plant where he is using all the broken crates, not the virgin plastic, and the bumpers of the cars, and the plastic chairs which is broken, to all of these recycling. Every day he produces 2,000 crates right here in Hosur. And the farmers now have grown so smart, they say, why only bananas? Even the tomatoes and other things that, instead.
Knowledge got
Absolutely,
further.
absolutely. That knowledge and application together, when they come again, they rock. And we need to apply and be socially relevant and holistic in approach. So that is what brings in that sustainability, and real prosperity is what we're all aspiring for, right? Interesting story, and where innovation is actually an example of idea and execution.
And I guess now with CAPEC also coming to this one product, one district, it's also a new approach to business, I guess, which will eventually even benefit all the people, I guess not eventually, it will benefit all the people who are digitally active, who wants to make a change in the way businesses are done. So, moving to the last question, I keep it to Mr. Kepak, I can say. How do you put it in a short? Like, what changes you expect from the technology or the scheme, whatever you explain now, would be seen down the line 1 or 2 years?
Yeah, you rightly said this ODOP concept. It's really going to change from these basic village level people who wants to develop this and to become bigger entrepreneurs. Even educated or uneducated people, it will be a kind of great help for them. Because in this scheme, I told you that DRP, district resource person, they are main the hand holding persons. They can lift them up. They can, yeah, open source. Yeah, they can. They themselves can identify those people, and they can come to. They can take up to the main platform, and they can become those who are all existing entrepreneurs. Yeah. Existing entrepreneurs, they will be having an opportunity to expand their business also. They can put for their brands also. They can market their this one also products whatever they produce. So it's another 2-3 years. This scheme will run for another 4 years up to 24. Another 5 year scheme actually it is. 25 20, up to 25 it is there. So we'll see a major change in. Yeah.
So, I thank the dais for just this wonderful session, taking up. Yeah, you want to take up?
I just wanted to share with you some experience, of dealing with students like yourself, not only here but all over the world. What's very common refrain is that I don't have ideas. I don't have any challenge to work on. So here is my suggestion to you all, right? Wherever you come from, just go and spend time on the weekends with your farmers, right? You will understand their challenges, their problems, come up with solutions for that. And you know, there are interventions available. There are
Idea.
interventions
And
available.
most of the guys, people here are from some or other related to farming. We are doing this event here. So eventually it's a good way of understanding what the need is rather than a want and take it ahead. Yeah.
That's where the ecosystem plays a role, and collaboration. Coming back to the topic, that's where we have to help each other.
So I would like to end this session basically saying that things are changing in terms of digitally intervention at each and every level of any business or any idea developing. So it's fun to be digitally aware and active so that new opportunities like what just now KPK sir discussed right now about one product, one district. It's a new opportunity which we didn't had when we were studying or coming up. So that's where new even ideas would get framed and the eventual future which is to be under the 2 or 3 years down the line, which we would see some big changes coming in. So that's all from us. Any questions from the crowd? One or two max.
Good afternoon. My name is Sadanand and I am a founder of the startup Sampark Bindu. The question that I have is with regards to one of the topics that came up in the discussion panel today. When we look at the price indices, right, that we look at from a raw produce perspective, it's typically APMC. But if I want to take it to the next level and I want to understand the wholesale price index, I wouldn't really say real time, but at least if I want a dump of the wholesale price index, I find a lot of references to 2012, 2013, 2016 or 17. Is there a structured manner where I could actually retrieve data of the agri-produce wholesale price indices of some process? For example, it could be rice, varieties of rice, it could be fatka tur and things like that, because these are not dealt with APMC. So the question is came in because in one of the slides we saw the wholesale price index as one point there. So the question is to the Mr. Naik to see if there is any references I could get which could help us greatly.
Yeah, if you look at wholesale price, if you look at primary markets wholesale prices, that is agriculture market, APMC prices and so on, there is one market Wahini. So you could get data from there, it's a daily data, and therefore it gives you fairly detailed data of different markets and to some extent varieties as well. Not the wholesale price index. Index will be sort of combination of varieties and so on. That may not be very useful to you if you are an entrepreneur. What would be useful is this market Wahini's prices, so that you can track one market, time series data for one variety or whatever variety that you are looking for. So that might help you in terms of looking at the price trends.
Just to add, sir, we are looking at Krishi Marata buying, right? That's the index you referred to. There I'm getting all the data because it's all available open through the government data initiative. So I'm getting all of that. That's the primary market, as you rightly said. But if I want to take it to the next level where it's a little processed, for example, I'm dealing with tur dal again, but it's fatka. Instead of tur dal as a raw commodity, right, the varieties and grade from the secondary market perspective is where things get a little smudgy. So that's where I was looking at it. I have old data, but I don't have new data, and I was just curious on it because as an agriculture marketplace, we are trying to sort of help on that aspect as well, but we are lost for references.
Yeah, maybe going forward, some of the platforms that are there, they may be able to provide that kind of a data. Whereas right now, it's quite difficult. I understand your difficulty, especially if you look at consumer prices. These are all really very broad average, and we don't know which market they belong to, and when they collected it. Of course, they are supposed to collect it daily and then compile it for a month, but that's an average figure. It may not be very useful to you.
Thank you.
What you need is a daily prices. There is one which is, of course, this the NCDEX or MCX, they do have what is known as a spot price. So they might give you some idea about what is happening in the secondary wholesale markets. Futures and spot market, they need to actually have spot market in order to close the futures. So therefore they collect that, but again, that is a polled price. They get it through polling. They may have about 50, 60 traders who say that, okay, this is the price today. So based on that, they generate this spot prices, but reasonably okay with respect to its relevance to the real markets.
Thank you, sir. So, yeah. Last question, please. We are short on time. Sorry.
Thank you. My name is Mahesh, and I have a question to Mr. Bhatna. This is with respect to the ODOP scheme that you are describing. And most of the time, when I see, we work on a decentralized model with rural groups, self-help groups or FPOs or individuals as such, including us. Most of the time, banks doesn't respond. They do not have the data, nor the sanction letter from the government. If I understand it properly, if I can take half a minute, that the person who is applying has to invest from his portion towards the same parallel account that is being created. At the same time, the subsidy amount gets in from the center. But then bankers never respond so easily. There is a conflict there. Why is it so?
No. In this case, it is not so. 10% that person's contribution is there, not in terms of money, either in terms of whatever that assets he is having. He has to show that's all is there. And bankers usually will not refuse. So here, Central Union Bank, all India level, Union Bank is the nodal bank for this. And in each and every SLBC state level bankers committee meeting, we will be discussing, and even Prime Minister office will be continually monitoring this scheme. And easily with these people, bankers, unlike others, loans and all, the crop loan, everything, they will be rejecting. But here they don't reject. They see the viability of that project and they will immediately sanction. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಆ type ಯಾವುದು? We are not come across.
But what we have seen is bankers have no information.
No, they have information. No, earlier they were not having information. We have made awareness. Continuously we are in touch with them. Continuously we are online. Then we are giving them the training also. We are giving the awareness also. Now they are all aware. Even from SLBC also, and even from different banks also, that information is circulating everywhere.
Yes. Sure, sir. Thank you.
Definitely, we can take this question on this type also. We can check out with
If
Mr.
possible, I have few details. If offline.
Offline, we can take it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, just on the closing note, again, I thank all the people on the dais to give out such a very informative session in terms of discussions. Though we are short on time, I have to cut down some of them. I'm sorry for that. And definitely, if time permits, again next time we will take this up.
Thank you very much, sir. All the speakers are going to be here for some more time, so you can interact with them offline. I'd like to thank our esteemed panel of speakers today, Sri Bhatnal, Ms. Ambika, Sri Varadarajan Krishnan, Dr. Gopal Nayak, Mr. Naveen Lokur for sharing their thoughts today. My sincere thanks to Sri Sujit Ukerikar for moderating this technical session. I request Sri Sujit to kindly hand over a small memento to our speakers. Mr. Naveen Loku to kindly hand over a small memento to Mr. Sujit. Thanks a lot to all the speakers. We have our next session, that is CXO meet in the same venue. I request all of you to kindly join us. The chief guest is Dr. C.N. Ashok Nayan, our Minister for IT, BT and Skills, at 6 o'clock. Thank you very much.